Hello and welcome back to Wave Work Stress Goodbye with me, Luke Richardson. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. If you're new, thank you so much for giving up your precious time to listen to me, give some words of wisdom about how life works to help you in your work environment. And if you're a return listener, thank you. I am eternally grateful for you giving up your time. Today's episode is Working While Sick, Why High Performers Feel Stress and Anxiety About Rest. That's Working While Sick, Why High Performers Feel Stress and Anxiety About Rest. Now, I don't have specific stats to share, but I do know, and you know as well, that a lot of money is lost from employee sick days throughout each year. Now, to get things kicked off, I will give you a little bit of history about my working career and also the sickness I've had to go through during that time. So I've been working for, let's say, about 20 years this year, so not always been employed, but near enough. And I got my first job when I was just about to turn 18, so I'm 37 now, so this is 20 years also nearly ago. I was 17, going on 18, and I managed to land a job at one of the big 5 supermarkets in the United Kingdom. You may or may not have heard of it. It's called Morrison's, and I got a job there as a checkout boy. And I will be absolutely honest with you, I was there for 4 years, and it's probably the best job I've ever had. And the irony being, okay, I wasn't there full time, but the irony being it was the lowest paid job I'd ever had, and I loved it. I was in my element with it. I loved serving customers, I loved helping, packing people's bags. It was a lot different back then. We were more of a cash society back then, 20 years ago, than it is today. You know, today you have the contactless card, don't you, and just put it to the pay machine. It pays it for you. No, back then it was loads of cash, so I just loved the whole process of having to take the people's cash and give them their change, and hopefully get it right as well. I loved it, and the reason I'm mentioning a job this long ago is because I got quite ill during that time. I turned 18. I think I was there over a year, and I just turned 19, and I got my first girlfriend, and 19-year-old Luke started kissing girls for the first time. And I'm not saying this to show off at what an alpha male I was or Casanova was. No, I got something called glandular fever during this period, and I think it's known as the kissing disease. And looking back, I put 2 and 2 together that I got it from kissing people, and I was incredibly sick. I had a really bad case of it. I was in bed for about a month to 2 months solidly. I had tonsils the size of golf balls in my mouth, and I just couldn't breathe. And I was really poorly, and I made a full recovery, but it was very slow going. I was feeling really tired afterwards when I was out and about again, because that's what glandular fever does to you. It gives you a lot of severe symptoms, a lot of severe fatigue as well. And if you've ever had glandular fever, I really sympathise with you, because it really is a nasty one. And I had it quite bad, and if you had it bad as well, I really empathise and give a lot of sympathy to you. And fast forward 5 months later, 6 months later, and my tonsils are still the size of golf balls. So they booked me in for, I had to have my tonsils removed. And so I have another month off work and college and university. And again, I was in bed for about a month after having that. I got an infection as well, which meant I had to go back into hospital, which wasn't particularly fun. If you've ever been in hospital before, you'll know what I mean. You never get a good night's sleep on a hospital ward. And I missed a lot of work and college and uni, and I worried about it. And fast forward another year later, and I got something called labyrinthitis. Now, if you don't know what labyrinthitis is something to do with your ears, I think that's right. And what it does in layman's terms is it knocks you off balance. So you can't walk in a straight line. You have sickness and vertigo, and all you want to do is lie down in bed because you just can't face standing up because the dizziness and sickness is just too much. And I got that, and I was off work and university for another month. So this is just back in college and university. I missed a lot of education and work from those three incidences. And the one thing I had in common about all that is I worried about work. I worried about it damaging my career. I worried about damaging my progress at uni. I worried about being sacked from my job. I guess I wasn't worried about my career because the supermarket job wasn't such a career, but I was certainly worried about losing my job because of so much sickness. But, I guess the laws were the laws even back then. I had sickness notes, so my employer couldn't do anything about it. Anyway, then I left Morrison's and got my first corporate style job, and regrettably I wish I stayed at Morrison's a lot longer. As I say, I really enjoyed it, and I had no pressure to move on to this job, but I guess after university I thought I had to get a little bit more discomfort rather than comfort and stand on my own 2 feet. And then after getting that job I moved out 6 months later and lived on my own for a year and a half to 2 years before I met my current wife, and we lived together. So I guess I really grew as a person when I moved out and had to stand on my own 2 feet from that first corporate job. Anyway, the years went on in that corporate job, and I think I went a good 10 years without any major sickness any time else. So that's pretty good going considering what I went through, as I just described, in my educational time. And it got to 2021, just after COVID, just after the first lockdowns in 2020. I got to the early 2020 and I got labyrinthitis again as a 30-something-year-old, and it wasn't as severe as the first time, I wouldn't say, but I got it again, and I was again in bed for a week or two. Like I said, not as long as the last time, and I was off work I was a project manager at this point. I was off work for another week or two, just lying in bed and being really sick. And again, I worried about work. I worried about, the implications of me being off. What would that do to my work? I'd be behind. I'd suffer. All these thoughts were running through my mind about taking time off. And this was all before I got into the inside-out understanding, which I'm going to get onto very, very shortly. Okay, about 18 months passes by, and it's the summer of 2022. I'm still a project manager, and I nearly had a breakdown. I had a breakdown, and my employer told me to go off work because I was just so stressed with work. And I think I was off for about 10 weeks, maybe 11 weeks. And I really needed that time off because I was really stressed and anxious, and it was the right thing to do. But at the same time, the same thoughts were racing through my mind. So everything I've just talked about so far, having these times off, all had something in common, that I worried about the implications of it, even though it was probably necessary to take that rest and relaxation for myself to come back a better, stronger person. I really worried about it, and as I say, I was off sick mentally in 2022 summer for 10 weeks or so. Went back in late 2022, got to summer 2023, boom, stressed and anxious again. I was off sick for another 6 to 7 weeks, and again, I worried even more about my career because it happened. I was off long-term sick again twice in the space of 12 months, and I'll be honest with you, I could sense my employer was not happy about it this time. They were all quite nicey and very supportive at the start of during the first period of absence, about a year or so ago. But the 11 to 12 weeks or whatever it was, but during the second time in 12 months for the 6-week period, I could tell they'd gone quite cold with me. And they were still supportive, but I could tell there was an elephant in the room during the meetings, and all that is for another conversation another time. And because of that, I worried even more. As I say, I worried because I worried if I was going to get sacked, was worried I was going to get let go. I also knew that they were doing some restructural changes 6 months from that point, and I was worried they'd use this against me when I went for that restructure, because I had to apply for my job again, you see. And I was worried that they'd use my sickness against me. And to be fair, long story short, 6 months further passed, and they didn't use it against me. I applied for my job again, got it, got my job back again, and a few months later I decided to resign because the stress and pressure was too much, despite the understanding of the inside-out nature of life. Because of that understanding, I knew that it was time to go. I was spent in that job and I needed something new, something challenging, and I have a new job now that I've been in for 18 months or so. And I'm pleased to say that I've not had any sickness long term in this job so far, unlike the previous job. So that's a little bit about me. We'll get on to you very, very, very shortly. I haven't bored you with all of that, but I thought it was all relevant to kind of just talk about my working career over the last 20 years and the long-term periods of sickness I've had during that time, and also to give an insight of the thoughts and feelings that were racing through my mind. Now, let's turn the tables and switch this back to you. Maybe you're listening to this podcast recording. Maybe you've clicked on it intriguingly because you've also been through a lot of sickness in your working life, or currently going through a sickness period now, or about to, and like me, during those periods that I've described, you're worried about a lot of things, like what taking time off would mean for you and your job. Would it mean you'd be docked pay? Would it mean you'd be sacked? Would it mean you'd be let go because of all these reasons? And the head just gets absolutely cluttered. And if that's you listen to the right podcast recording, because I'm going to teach you now. I'm going to give you the description, not the prescription, of how life really works, so you can settle and see your rest and relaxation as a necessary aspect of you recovering and being the best version of yourself. So I've talked about this on previous recordings, so if you're a regular listener, you might know what to expect, or you just need a reminding of this. And if you're new to listening, this is probably the first time you're hearing this. But we human beings live in a world of thinking, a world of thoughts, and irrespective of what's going out in the outside world, we create our own experience internally. And it's true, because you're probably like I was, where you have periods of sickness and you worry about it and procrastinate about it, and it really gets you. You really get seduced by the illusion of that, and worry about the implications it has for you. So, for instance, you might be on a period of sickness now, and from your job, and you're worried about, what people will think when you come back. Will you be let go? Will you be sacked? Will you be able to catch up with the work you missed? All sorts of different situations are going on in your mind right now, and you're person A. Now I'm going to give you a person B who's going through the exact same thing you are, and person B, excuse my French, doesn't give a shit about about work or the job. They're not even thinking about it. And you know why they're not thinking about it? Because not because they don't care. I'm not saying it because that person should be caring more, or they should be doing this, they should be doing that. I'm saying that because people have different realities. People experience the same circumstances or similar circumstances differently. Person A really worries about being out of work. Like I'm the epitome of person A. Person A really worries about being out of work and what the work they're missing, and that's their reality. That's what they lie in bed with and sleep with, and have to experience because they believe in that experience. Whereas person B, they don't care. They see the situation differently, and their reality is that they know it's necessary that they rest and don't think about work or certainly don't worry about the possible consequences of what they're doing, because it's not in their reality to worry about certain things like losing their job or losing their income or what other people think. It's not in their reality. And person C will have a different reality of it, person D will have a different reality of it, person E will have a different reality of it, and so on and so on and so on, because we all create our own illusions of life. And with understanding from both employees and employers, if both understood how life really works, the working industry would be a lot more productive. There'd be more production going on in businesses, people will thrive more, there'd be a lot less sickness. But because of a misunderstanding, it's rife out there that there's a lot of sickness going on in the world. Okay, if you like me, you have your tonsils removed, you have to take time off work. But fast forward to me in 2022 and 2023, when I lacked understanding of the inside-out nature of life, I probably didn't have to take time off work. It was because I lacked understanding of how life worked that I felt I had to take the time off. Now that might be the same for you. With understanding, you might not have to take any time off because you know how life is truly working. Or if you are off already, you might be able to go back to work a lot sooner with understanding of how life truly works. I'll just let this sink in for a moment, because sometimes when you listen to these recordings, it's a little bit like, oh my god, that's fucking true what he's saying. Again, excuse my French, but sometimes it takes that expletive of oh my effing G, that is true, for people to go, oh my god, all this time I've been living in a seductive illusion of my life, and I didn't know that I didn't have to entertain it. I'll just let this settle for a minute in case you've had a profound realisation. Give it 5-10 seconds. Yeah? Sometimes it really is the simple things in life that get us the most furthest. I create my own experience of life, you do too, your work colleague does, your next door neighbour does, your boss does. We all are the creators of our own experience. And when you really see that, you will thrive in your life. You'll be off work less because you'll see it's unnecessary to take time off, because you understand that it's just an illusion you don't have to entertain. Sure, if your job is absolutely toxic and you don't like it and it's not good for you to be there, I'm not saying stay in it. It might be that you have to leave, but this understanding will certainly help you endure it until you leave, rather than have to suffer needlessly and unnecessarily. Really hope you enjoyed that one, and it gave an insight. If you're someone who's suffering from work sickness currently, or feel you're about to be off sick, I really hope this inside out understanding really saves you from a lot of emotional trauma that I went through in 2022 and 2023. Now, if you're wanting to understand a lot more deeply about this, check out my library of podcast recordings. I think this is episode 35 now, so I'm getting quite a number of topics going now about work and how life really works for all of us in relation to it all. If you prefer shorter snippets of inspiration, I've got an Instagram profile for you to enjoy. I'll link it below in the details description. I've got a LinkedIn profile, again, that's more of written insights. Prefer to read things, follow me on there. I have a free PDF about work stress, and I'll link it there as well. And once you sign up to that, you'll get a weekly mail letter from me about this kind of thing. So feel free to download that and enjoy that. And yeah, so what have I got coming up soon? Well, I'm hoping to have a lot more guests on the podcast. I've got loads of different topics to discuss about, how high performers about the problems high performers enjoy in the workplace, not just sickness but other topics as well. Got so much to look forward to, so give the podcast a follow, stay tuned, and watch this space. Lots to look forward to. I'll see you on the next podcast recording. Take care, guys, and again, a heartfelt thank you for listening. It really does mean the world to me that 34 countries now have clicked on my podcast to listen to it. I mean, back in August 2025, I would never have imagined that 34 countries would want to listen to me speak about work stress and wisdom to thrive beyond that. So thank you. Take care, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.